Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is the Park Slope Food Co-op cooking class. We host these once a month, and we're coming to you from Elena Siegel's kitchen here in
Ilana.
Ilana. I'm
He
sorry.
knows my name.
I do.
We're just a little
Camera
nervous.
jitters.
We have jitters.
So Ilana's been a member of the co-op for almost 24 years, and she's been a resident of Park Slope for even longer. And we're here in her beautiful kitchen. And tonight, Ilana is going to show us some Passover-friendly desserts in celebration of Passover coming up soon.
Yes, Passover is in a couple of weeks, and my mom always made really good desserts. The traditional Passover desserts from both my mom's generation and the generation before her were pretty yucky tasting. They all had matzah meal, which is essentially, you will buy it separately, but it's just the matzah ground up so that it's the texture of flour, and it doesn't taste very good in baked goods. So my mom started improvising how you could make things that were better and didn't have matzah meal in them and also didn't have flour. So for the uninitiated, there are new rules for Passover. This is the only thing I know of in Judaism where the rules have changed in my lifetime. But the new rules by the conservative movement are that you have to avoid 5 grains during Passover: wheat, rye, spelt, barley, and oats. And it used to be the Ashkenazi Jews that came from Eastern and Western parts of Europe and in the diaspora, also avoided what we called kiniot, which were legumes. So any kind of bean or peanut, and also rice. But those rules got amended in the past, I think, 10 years. And so now, at least conservative Jews and Jews who are less than, well, I shouldn't say that, but to the less religious than conservative also will have kiniot. So hence one of our recipes, excitingly, involves peanut butter tonight.
That is exciting.
So
yeah, why don't you tell us what we're going to make?
So we're going to make ambitious. We're going to make 4 things. We're going to make an almond torte. That is my mother's recipe. And we're going to make chocolate meringue kisses. That's my sister's recipe. And then we're going to make 2 different kinds of matzah crack, which is a more modern invention. It's not something that my mom ever used to make, but I've been making it for about 20 years now. And I'm going to make 2 different versions. So we're going to start with the almond cake. So just a little bit to know about this almond cake. It's an almond torte, we call it. And the original recipe was adapted from one of the old versions of the Joy of Cooking cookbook, which was a standard in my house growing up. And that recipe actually had breadcrumbs in it. But my mom amended the recipe to substitute more almond flour so that the recipe could be, as we say, Passover friendly. So also when I was growing up, you couldn't buy the superfine almond flour that you can now buy in the co-op, and this is what I used. So my mom would actually grind the nuts herself. But lucky for us, we can do it like this. Just a note, I've measured everything out already so that we could move through the recipes more quickly. Here's my almond torte recipe. The way that we've done it in my family is we do it with chocolate frosting. You can also make a lemon curd and put that on it. You can also just do it with powdered sugar plain, but I like it with chocolate.
So we're on the zoomed in camera now.
Okay, great.
Come around.
So the first thing that you do, and this is something that I know some people find scary, is you have to separate the eggs, which is not a big deal. I'm just going to pull up an extra bowl in case. So the separating of the eggs, you don't have to be afraid of it, because if you mess up, you just start over. In Passover baking, egg whites whipped separately from egg yolks are a staple because they make everything rise. So you're going to see those in multiples of the recipe. So we do 7. And in this recipe, we actually do use the yolks. We don't use the yolks in the meringue cookies.
And for anybody that's unfamiliar with separating eggs, what's the best way to kind of explain what you're doing?
Yeah, so I bang it on the counter. If you bang it here, you're more likely to get shell in it. Again, if you get some shell in it, it's okay. You can clean that up later. The thing you can't clean up is if your yolk breaks and you get yolk into your whites, and that means there's fat in your whites and they won't whip up properly. So I'm going to focus so I don't have to start over.
So you're just kind of cradling the yolk in one side of the shell, yes, and then pouring it back and forth very carefully.
If I weren't on TV right now, I might even be using my hands more to make sure that and if you want to be really careful, I could be doing each one into a separate dish. It's probably what I would do if I had more time, just so that if you do mess up, you don't ruin all of the whites, you just ruin the one that you didn't do properly. Okay.
And so the reason we don't want yolk in the whites is that would prevent them from whipping?
It will prevent them from whipping up. You whip them up so they look kind of like whipped cream, and they add a lot of lightness. I do it actually with butter cakes too. Some butter cakes, they make a cake very light and they give a good texture. Okay, I'm gonna just rinse my hands off.
So it's six eggs?
So 6 eggs and 6 whites. So the whites are gonna go over here. And I'm gonna put them into, if you don't have a standing mixer, you can do this cake very easily with a hand electric mixer. Oh, sorry. Tough to do without an electric mixer, but not impossible. Just doing the yolks doing the whites is a bit difficult. Oops, sorry.
We're having some technical difficulties.
So you want to get those whipping up. And once those start to come together, I'm going to gradually add in the sugar. This is a cup of sugar. This cake is so delicious and it has almost nothing in it, which people don't believe when they taste it. So now you've got that going. The cake has citrus juice and citrus zest. You can do lemon, you can do orange. Just for fun today, I did Meyer lemon, which is a bit of a sweeter lemon, and it's almost like a cross between a lemon and an orange, so I thought that would be fun. I'm going to stop this machine, because as nice as this machine is, it doesn't always get the sides. So I'm just going to move the stuff down and make sure it's all whipping in there. So now I'm putting in the zest and the juice of the Meyer lemon. And I'm putting in the almond flour. The almond flour should be measured the same way you measure other flour, which is to take the cup and to spoon the flour in rather than scooping it, because you'll get it too packed, and you don't want it to pack, you just want it to be light. So I measured it that way.
And is there a reason you turned down the speed on the mixer?
Yeah, I didn't want the flour to fly out all over and get on the
camera. Gotcha. So we're on like medium speed, and now we're going back up.
And now I'm putting in the almond extract. A little almond extract goes a long way. If you don't like almond extract, and I know some people don't, because it's pretty strong, you could substitute in vanilla extract if you want.
And how much did you use?
There was a half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon, okay.
And again, I'm just going to scrape down the sides so that we can make sure it's all really well combined.
It's a really pretty yellow color.
Yeah.
It's almost the same color as your mixer.
It's kind of revelatory that you can actually buy the almond flour already ground. Okay, so now it's done. And you see it's quite heavy because it's all that nut batter in there. So you can sort of see the consistency of it is a bit heavy. My hands are clean, so I'm going to use them to scrape down some of the zest. And by the way, the zester, the microplane zester that they have at the co-op is excellent, and that's what I use, and I will show it to you in 1 second. It's this, and it's great for zesting. It's absolutely great for zesting.
I will second that. Microplane is one of my favorite kitchen tools.
So you see, this is kind of heavy. Mixing it up a little bit more by hand. And then I'm going to come back here. Is that all right for you? And I'm going to use, actually, I'll come this way. And I'm going to use my hand mixer. You could do the egg whites on the big mixer. I find it easier to do with the hand mixer. You put it all the way up, as high as yours goes.
And this is just 6 egg whites. There's nothing else in here.
It's just 6 egg whites. You can put a 7th one in. I didn't want to waste another egg yolk today, so I didn't. But if you're feeling spicy, you can throw in an extra egg white. You see, it starts to froth.
Wow.
And it would be frothing like this if you got a little fat in it, but it wouldn't keep going to where you need it.
Yeah, it almost looks like whipped cream.
Yeah. So now I like to check it. You want it to go until the peaks form. But as you see, it's a little, there's still some sort of bubbles on there. So I'm going to do it for another few seconds. Okay. You don't want them to get dry. Okay. So now we have our egg whites. And I'm going to put them in.
Here, I'm going to come around the other side of you so that we can see a little bit better. Beautiful.
So you see how much body that is, and it's going to be delicious. So you bake this in a springform pan. You can do it in a 9-inch or an 8-inch, whatever you have. People in my family have been known to double this recipe for a big occasion cake. Make 2 of them if you have 2 of the same pan and put frosting in the middle. I don't actually think that's necessary. It's pretty rich. Okay, now I'm folding. If you've been watching Catherine O'Hara videos on Instagram, there's a scene from Schitt's Creek. I actually am embarrassed to say I haven't watched Schitt's Creek, only a few episodes, but there's, I guess, a famous scene when she and her son are talking about how to fold in the cheese, and it's quite amusing. This is how you fold. You drag the spatula under until you get those whites incorporated.
And what's the reason for the folding?
So if I just start stirring, I'm going to break down all of that air that I just put into those whites.
So we want to do this pretty gently.
Yeah, you want to do it gently.
Can you repeat how much flour?
It's 1 1/3 cup almond flour.
In the original recipe, I believe it was 1 cup of ground almonds, as it was called back then, and 1/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs. So that's the adjustment that's been made. That doesn't actually even sound good to me, but I know that was a common ingredient in cakes in the 60s. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty well incorporated. I don't want any white streaks, but I also don't want to do it too much. Okay, it smells really good. I wish you could smell it because the Meyer lemon is really, really nice smell. Okay, so this pan, believe it or not, is ungreased. And this is the springform. It's gonna pop open later.
So basically the bottom and the sides can separate.
Yes, the bottom. This comes up. If for some reason you had any type of problem, you could also always serve it on the bottom. You could leave it, but it releases pretty easily.
Does anyone know if the co-op sells springform pans? I know we have baking equipment.
I've never seen one there, but you can get one anywhere. They're pretty easy to find. In truth, you could probably make it in a single layer pan if you were desperate, but I just don't think it would look as pretty because it tends to come out well on the side when you do it like this. Okay. So that's the cake done.
Beautiful.
So we're going to bake that. The recipe that I posted says 30 to 40 minutes. I always use convection bake, so my things bake a bit faster, and I always like things to be underbaked and not dry. So it says 30 to 40 minutes. I'm going to start with 20 minutes and see if I like how it's doing. So
all right, into the oven we go.
We're going to get that in the oven. For 20 minutes. And now I'm going to make the frosting. This frosting is my newest favorite chocolate frosting. And it is quite luxurious because it has 12 ounces of chocolate in the frosting. In the interest of time, I did some pre-melting. This is the chocolate I used. I used the Guittard chocolate that we sell at the co-op. You need 8 ounces of unsweetened, so each box has 6 ounces, so you need more than one box, and then 4 ounces of bittersweet. You can use different brands, obviously, but I really like this chocolate that the co-op has, and this is the butter that I use to bake with, unless something calls for European butter. This is the basic baking butter that I use, and it's unsalted. Okay, so what I did with the 4 ounces of bittersweet, the 8 ounces of chocolate, and the 2 sticks of butter is that I used a double boiler to melt them, because you don't want to melt the chocolate directly on the heat. It will almost definitely burn. And I know some people have success melting chocolate in a microwave. I really find that it also can burn when you do that, and you have to stand there and watch it. If you don't have a double boiler, you can just use a pan, like this kind of saucepan with warm water in it, and just sit a bowl on top of it, which is actually what I did with some of the other chocolate I melted for other recipes. Okay, so the chocolate frosting, you want to heat it, then you want to let it cool a bit. Then I sifted 3 cups of powdered sugar and a pinch of salt into this bowl. I used kosher salt. This is what I always use when something has to be sifted. I do not like the hand sifters. I find the mesh is very wide and things just kind of fall through. So I think that these sieves do better. This is what my mom always uses, so I grew up with this. Kosher salt can be hard to get through it. I didn't have any finer salt to use, so I used the kosher salt and I just pushed it through, which is fine. So that's in here. Now I have the vanilla, which is 2 teaspoons. And I have my milk already measured, which is 3/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to pour the vanilla into the milk.
Should I go back?
And I'm going to whisk this milk into the sugar.
Carol Weiss, you know Carol Weiss?
Carol Weiss?
Yeah. She said bake at 350 degrees. Maybe it's a question.
Oh, yes.
350 degrees?
Yes. It's going to be at 350.
And for how long? And you said 20 minutes. You were going to
Well,
start with 20.
the recipe calls for 30 to 40. It really depends so much on your oven. So I'm going to start with 20 minutes and see how it does. I don't like to to overbake. So this is an interesting frosting recipe because you mix the powder. A lot of chocolate frosting recipes that I like are not buttercreams, but when you use, when you do a buttercream, you beat the butter very hard, use a lot of butter, you whip it up. The frosting is very, very rich tasting and very, very buttery. I like powdered sugar frostings a lot. And this one, you usually put the milk in at the end, but this one has you putting the milk and the sugar together. And I think it works really well. So it's a very easy, and I would say pretty much foolproof recipe for chocolate frosting. And like I said, there's so much chocolate in it. So again, this is 12 ounces of chocolate and a cup of butter.
So not exactly low calorie. It's dessert.
It's dessert. And it's gluten-free, this recipe.
We love that.
So back in the day when we observed the rules that you couldn't have rice and you couldn't have beans, the other thing you couldn't have was corn. And a lot of powdered sugar has cornstarch in it. So that was always a problem, but now it's not because we're now eating corn on Passover. So you see how beautifully this comes together? It's
I can
so
smell
good.
the chocolate.
It's so good. Okay, so that's done. So we're going to put that to the side. And we're going to move on to our next recipe while our cake is baking. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the cookies. The cookies are so easy. So these are called Passover chocolate kisses. My mom makes 3 different types of kisses. One that has no chocolate in it, pecan kisses. One that has pecans and one that has walnuts. So I'm doing the walnut ones today. They're very good. Again, you're going to separate the eggs, but you're not going to use the yolks in this recipe. One obstacle, if anyone who is the egg buyer for the co-op is watching, one obstacle I find in baking is that some recipes calls for extra large eggs, and we almost never have them in the co-op. So this is supposed to be 2 extra large egg whites. So I'm going to actually use 3 regular whites because we don't have the extra large. So again, we want to make sure that we don't get any of the yolk in here. And we're not using the yolks.
A good trick to saving yolks that you're not using is to just throw them into scrambled eggs that you're making.
Yes, I could do that.
Make them extra yellow.
Yes, I could scramble them up and put them in a jar. Okay. So on the electric mixer, Again, I didn't even wash it because we're just doing whites again. I think I see a tiny, tiny shell. Okay.
Move over a little bit, Alana.
So we're doing the whites again, same way. And we're gonna gradually beat in the sugar after the whites get whipped. This recipe calls for 6 ounces of melted chocolate. You can use any kind of chocolate you want. If you want to use just chocolate chips, that's fine. You can use 6 ounces of the chocolate, the guitar chocolate, anything that you want. I use the dark chocolate Ghirardelli just for some variety to show people different things. And the chocolates at the co-op are all different price points, so I wanted there to be options for people. These cookies freeze incredibly well, and in fact, I think they taste better frozen. So you can make them ahead of the holiday and just keep them in the freezer. That's what my mom does. She makes big, giant containers of them. Okay, you see this came together? How the whites came together?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna...
And so that's just regular granulated sugar that you're adding?
That's regular sugar, half a cup. You can even smell the sugar. Okay, so it's a little bit thicker and more luxurious looking than the last egg whites I did because the sugar's in there. So now I'm gonna, in tribute to Catherine O'Hara, I'm going to fold in some more ingredients. So it's the 6 ounces of melted chocolate, which I melted in advance. Oops, I'm gonna actually, yeah, it's cooled, but
a little too cooled.
It's a little too cold. We're gonna heat it up a little bit. We're gonna heat that up while we add in the other things. So we're gonna put in the vanilla. And this is there are so many good vanillas at the co-op. I don't think it matters as long as you buy the extract. Sometimes they have imitation flavoring. Half a cup of chopped walnuts. If you prefer pecans or almonds, you could put those in. It also has a half a teaspoon of almond extract. So again, folding, and we're gonna add the chocolate in there in 1 second.
Can you tell us a little bit about your apron while we're waiting for the chocolate to melt?
This is my dog, Lily. You don't hear her barking because she's upstairs locked in with her daddy, but my mom gave me this apron. Okay, so you bake these cookies on, you see, if you were just making them without the chocolate, you pretty much have that. I'm gonna show you how to do the cookies. I'm just waiting. I have my friend Rana here is getting my chocolate.
We're melting the chocolate.
We're getting it a little more melty.
Do you have some favorite, childhood memories of desserts during Passover?
Oh yeah. The cookies. My mom makes these. She makes another kind of chocolate. She also makes a cookie with almond paste dipped in chocolate. There's no shortage of desserts on Passover. And one thing that's interesting about the cake, I meant to say earlier, is that we have tried so many different recipes for chocolate flour. You can make flourless chocolate cakes, different kinds of torts, we call them. We always end up going back to this original because it's everybody's favorite. Okay, chocolate's ready to go back in. Okay, so it's the reason it needs to be rewarmed was just that I did it in advance to make sure that we got to everything today. This isn't the ideal folding utensil. I'm going to get a bigger spatula. So again, we don't want to break down the whites, but we want to mix it all together.
No one can say
really
that they
strong.
don't know how to fold.
Yeah, exactly. You fold things also, like when you make cakes, you fold. A lot of times if you're putting fruit in there, you'll fold the fruit in so you don't break it down. Okay. So, looks good. And then I have my pan ready with my parchment. You don't need to worry too much about, you know, what size you make them. It's whatever. You don't want them too big, but I see some white there, so I'm just... Everything smells so good because the chocolate, the quality of the chocolate is so good, and the almond extract is really strong. And again, if you don't like almond extract or if there's an allergy, you can skip the almond and use more vanilla. You could also, I suppose, make these without the nuts if you wanted to.
So is that about a couple tablespoons maybe?
Yeah, the recipe said teaspoon, but I like them a little bit bigger. So.
And then it looks like they're a couple inches apart.
Yes, you want them, they're gonna spread. They're gonna spread a little bit and they're gonna puff.
Somebody in the chat asked, how much vanilla did you add?
Half a teaspoon of vanilla and half a teaspoon of almond. So you want a teaspoon total of extract. I'm sure they would be good with also like orange extract, or you know, you can, it's a pretty basic meringue cookie recipe, so you can. And I'm making these on a bit of a smaller pan just because I'm making them in an oven that only holds this size. But this recipe, you could easily fit on 2 cookie sheets if you made them.
And there's the cookies going into the oven in the background. Around the cake. We're being very efficient. We're only using one little oven tonight.
Well, we're using the big oven actually in a minute. Let me just finish. I'll just finish these off. So I will say, if you are making these for the holiday and you have a lot of people coming, you might want to double the recipe because they're kind of like potato chips. People just eat them by the handfuls. So you might run out. Yeah. Okay, great. Perfect. Okay. Just gonna get the last bits here. Okay. So we've got our cookies ready to go. They're done. And now we are going to switch over back to our cake so that we can finish that up. By the magic of, you know, cooking shows.
Here comes the cake.
We have the cake still in the oven, but we also have one that I baked earlier. So this is what it looks like when it comes out. It smells really good. It does sink. That's part of it. And this frosting recipe is going to have more frosting than you need for this cake. So lucky you can put it in the freezer and use it for something else.
Who would complain about having extra frosting?
Exactly. So I'm going to use an offset spatula. I like the small one to frost it. So there's a certain way my mom always frosts this cake, so I'm going to try to reproduce that. I put the frosting, you don't do the sides. You put the frosting in the middle, frosting is such a perfect consistency. And then you swing it out like this, and you have this little rim on the sides. This is how my mom always did it, always does it. So, gonna add a bit more. Can't have too much, in my opinion.
It's amazing how the consistency has changed. It seemed so thin when you were first starting
Yeah.
to mix it with, just the sugar and the milk.
And you see, a lot of people I know who struggle with the baking, they're worried about it being perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's going to taste great. And you can fix it as you go. So as you saw, I kind of underestimated how much frosting I thought I would need. So I just put some more on, and I can drag it in. And unlike other things, it doesn't matter how many times I do it, it's fine. And there you go. So
Beautiful.
it's all done. And we're gonna pull out the other one so you can see kind of, how long has that been in there?
20 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Do you wanna look at the 20 minutes, the 20-minute mark?
Okay,
It's
we're
a bit
coming
too
around to the
light.
oven.
It's a bit too light in color.
So it's slightly brown on the top, but yeah, it looks like it's still not
It
quite
needs
done.
And it's, if you move it, it's shaking a little bit still. Yeah, you don't want it to be wiggling.
I know a lot of cake recipes call for, inserting a toothpick. Is that something that would be helpful here?
You can do that. I don't usually do it unless I'm very unsure, because I just know that I like it to be underbaked. Sometimes I use cake tester. I think I have in here. Or I use, I don't know where the cake tester is at the moment, but I will use these skewers from the co-op as a cake tester sometimes if I'm worried about it. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the matzo crack. So matzo crack. Marcy Goldman, I think, famously invented this recipe, and the New York Times adapted it. They reproduced it with fancier salt. So we're going to make the basic one, and then we're going to make, this one I've been making since my kids were in preschool. Then we're going to try a different one, which is the peanut version. The difference between them, besides the peanut butter, is that the original is made with brown sugar, light brown sugar, and the new one is made with dark brown sugar. The new one is going to be a bit more caramelized than the original. I will say I've made this probably 30, 40, 50 times, and it has never not come out. So it's pretty foolproof. It's, sometimes you look at the brown sugar and butter mixture and think, oh, it's not caramelized enough. It always comes out because you're melting it and then you're sticking it in the oven and getting it more heated. Okay, so we're gonna heat both of these at the same time.
So this is brown sugar and butter that you're heating.
Yes.
And just for anybody who has never had matzo crack, what's the kind of basic concept?
Well, we call it matzo crack because you can't stop eating it. I have friends who don't want me to give it to them because they get sick eating too much of it. It's matzah with caramel on top and then chocolate. And I know some people put salt, some people put caramelized sugar ginger on top, some people will put dried cranberries on top. I'm not much of a dried fruit with my chocolate kind of person, so I like to stick to the salt, but I did think that the peanut butter one sounded fun to try. So we're gonna heat these. So this one, the basic matzo crack, this recipe calls for I think people are just putting their own spin on things, but this recipe calls for using foil, which is what I've always done. And it always calls for 4 to 6 sheets of matzah. The only way that you can fit 6 pieces of matzah on here without overlapping is if you had a much bigger pan, which is not what they call for. So this, okay, so this is 4 and a little bit. They always tell you not to overlap it. As you see, I overlapped it. It doesn't matter that much. The caramel stuff is going to seep in. It's delicious and, like I said, foolproof. So on this one, I think I'm going to do them one at a time, actually, so we don't.
So we can focus.
Yeah, so this one is bring it to a boil. It's 1.5 cups of the brown sugar, the light brown sugar, and 2 sticks of butter.
And we're over like a medium heat?
Yeah. And we want it to boil. We want it to boil and this one bakes up at 350. So one thing you're going to see is that you can actually keep this in the refrigerator after it's done. This is not something I would make super far ahead of Passover, just because I think the matzah will get a little bit yucky if it's just sitting in the freezer for weeks at a time. And I've never tried freezing it. I don't know that it would freeze particularly well. So we're gonna.
So it's better when it's more fresh.
I think it lasts definitely a few days if you can actually make it last that long.
Yeah, it doesn't all get eaten.
But it's so quick to make that. And
Okay, so our cookies, we think our cookies are ready. And it looks like the top of the cake is nice and brown too.
So you see how the cookies puffed up?
Yeah, they spread out a little bit too. They look really good.
And they puff. So they're ready. That was pretty quick. See
Yeah,
how they got
very
nice
quick.
And puffy? And the cake is, I think, pretty close. I would give it maybe 1 or 2 more minutes.
Okay.
So this is starting to boil. And maybe someone could give me just 3 minutes for boiling of this. So you see it's separating a bit. When you make actually real caramel, when you're really caramelizing sugar in the more scientific fashion, you wouldn't want the butter to be separating. In this case, as I said before, it doesn't matter. I've had it sometimes boil up in a way where the butter, and it probably depends something on the temperature of the butter when you put it in the first place, but sometimes the butter doesn't quite mix in, but it doesn't matter.
It's going to taste good regardless.
It tastes good regardless because you're not eating it like this, you're baking it. So you bake this one for about 15 minutes at 350. How are we doing on time? 2 more minutes? Okay. So while we're giving that 2 more minutes, I'm going to start the other one going. Try not to cause a fire while I'm doing it. Also, if you notice, there was no fat on the pans for the cookies. It just goes on the parchment paper. So I'm just starting to heat up the other matzah crack.
All right, we're going to take the cake out.
Yeah, the cake looks perfect.
That's beautiful.
And see how much it puffed up. So how long total was the cake in?
Maybe about 25.
25 minutes. So for my oven, that seems good.
And you're going to let that cool before you
Yes.
take it out of the...
Yeah. I let it cool maybe 10 minutes, and then I would slide a knife around the outside to get the outer ring off. So you see how this is coming together here?
Yeah, I don't see the melted butter anymore.
And it's getting very, you don't want this to touch your skin, I'll tell you that.
It's super hot.
I
And I can hear the other one now.
I had a scar for probably 20 years from making caramelized sugar and butter and letting it touch my skin. How many more minutes do we have? 14 seconds. We're there. We're gonna call it. Okay, so we're gonna take this and we are gonna pour it over the matzah. Now, again,
that looks amazing.
It doesn't matter if it's
It
perfect.
smells really good too.
You're gonna swirl it around. You need a heat-proof spatula, which I happen to have handy here.
So we're scraping out all the goods.
So now I just go with the back of it. You definitely, like, no one wants this piece over here if there's no butter and sugar on it, so just make sure you
give everybody some love.
Yeah, make sure that you got everybody covered here. And like I said before, it always tells you to do it in one sheet and not overlap, but you see, you can just get under there anyway. See, I said not to touch it.
Yeah, but don't burn your hand.
So you just slide it over. Okay. Okay, now we're going to put this in the oven for about 15 minutes. Oops, get that out. Okay, so we're going to
Turn the oven down, right?
yeah. So the oven, we're going to turn it. We have the challenge that these two matzo cracks call for different temperatures. I don't think it matters. What we did was we set the temperature to 375, so the oven is pretty hot, and now we're going to put it down to 325 for 15 minutes. That's actually the peanut recipe, but I think it'll work for both.
Here's
So
our other caramel coming
I'm going to
together.
set this one for 15 minutes. And so for the one with the peanut, same thing. Again, these recipes are slightly different, but as you can see, it's the exact same ingredients, so I'm not too concerned. We're going to let this go for 3 minutes too. It's probably been going for about a minute, so we'll do 2 more minutes. It's definitely the best part of Passover. And
Sugar and chocolate.
It's now become the only way that I eat matzah. I will say this. I think that you can actually buy matzah crack, and the co-op might even sell it, but I don't know why you would when you see how easy it is. Within the hour, we made a cake, frosting, cookies, and 2 batches of matzah crack. So,
are you looking for any kind of visual indicators for this?
No, I'm just doing it by the time. It's just getting it pretty hot, and I don't want it to burn. So if it starts to, I feel like it's probably done. How long has it been?
1 more minute.
Okay. We have 1 more minute, but we didn't time it exactly, so I think we're going to call that too.
Okay.
It looks very similar to the other one. Okay, so now we're going back over here to this pan. Whoops.
Uh-oh.
This recipe calls for parchment instead of, oh, it's still bubbling. I'm going to use my spatula. And I'm not worrying about cleaning my spatula because it's the only
Take this
difference
one.
here is that one had dark brown and one had light brown. There's a fire over there.
Oh, there's a fire.
Small kitchen fire. Lana's on it.
I caught the other side on fire too. And then I stuck with it all.
Careful, careful. Okay, we're not, are we filming the fire?
No.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so we're spreading out the caramel.
So again, spreading out the caramel. And again, making sure that we
give everybody some love.
get it all over. And you see how there's one piece here that's like kind of got hard? It doesn't matter because we're putting it in the oven, so it's going to melt down. I like the way it looks with the dark brown sugar. It looks a bit more
Okay, and then this one is going to also go into the oven.
So this one's going in, and you can see how the other one is starting to bubble up.
Wow. Beautiful. Do you want to maybe cut a slice of cake while we're
Yes.
waiting for the masa crack? And here are some finished cookies.
Finished cookies. And then I will cut a piece. The cake cuts super easily. Sometimes it's nice. A lot of times we'll serve it with fresh raspberries on the side. You see how moist it is in the middle? It's really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put a few raspberries on for presentation. My mom will often make a homemade raspberry sauce to put with it. We'll just put some nice co-op raspberries.
Somebody asked how long the cookies bake.
10 minutes. They were just almost exactly 10 minutes. And you see here are some finished ones. And you see they're quite soft now because the top crackles, but they're a bit soft. But if you keep them in the freezer, they're really hard and they're very good to eat out of the freezer. Okay, so we've got that. We've got a few more minutes going on our crack.
And here are our toppings.
We've let our peanut butter, we've melted it a bit. I used the Marantha peanut butter. I just want to show you. This is far and away the best peanut butter. If the peanut butter buyer is listening, you can get this in crunchy because I was just in California and I saw it there. I was really tempted to bring it home in my suitcase. But we have the creamy at the co-op and that's what makes sense for this anyway. So we're going to just give it a couple more minutes in the oven. I actually think that...
Alana, do you ever put powdered sugar on top of the cookies or the cake? I've seen some people do that.
On the cake, I don't love that just because I want the chocolate, but you can definitely serve it as more of a tea cake with powdered sugar on top. Or I have made it before with a lemon curd. A homemade lemon curd is really good on the side if you have people who aren't into chocolate, or if you're going to do the cookies in chocolate and you want something that's a different flavor.
So you would swap out lemon curd instead of the chocolate frosting.
And I wouldn't put it on. I would put powdered sugar and serve it on the side, you know, like the raspberries.
Beautiful.
Can you talk about melting the chocolate?
Yes.
How we just had to remelt that.
Yeah. So I melted the chocolate. So if I were doing this
I'm going to come in with the camera.
in a normal situation, I would have been melting as I went, but I tried to do so much ahead so we could get through everything that I melted this and then it kind of hardened up again. So the peanut butter one calls for you to melt the chocolate ahead of time. The original recipe just has you chopping up the chocolate and letting it melt on the hot caramel, which it's going to do pretty easily with a spatula. So I'll show you how that works. I feel like someone needs to try the cake and see how it is. Any volunteers? Rana?
Like the sacrificial lamb.
Which is part of the
You're
Passover.
making such a sacrifice.
So good.
It's really good, right?
Yeah, it has the texture of almond paste
Uh-huh.
almost.
Can't really hear her, so.
So Rana said that the cake has the texture of almond paste almost. That it's really sort of gooey and dense and.
None for you. None for you.
I'm going to get a piece as soon as we're done filming.
So how much time do we have left?
We're at 2 minutes.
2 minutes? Okay.
So why don't we go ahead and take one of these out, even if it's a little
Okay.
early.
Okay. We're going to take one out. We can run over a couple minutes. We have to, right? I actually think this one is good, though. It looks like it's supposed to, even though it didn't stand for 15 minutes.
So it looks a little bit drier. It's sort of bubbling.
Yes.
Darker.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Want to do maybe half like that, one half another.
Yeah, do like chocolate
I
by
could do
itself
that.
on
I could
half
do
and
that.
peanut butter on the other half. So
I
we're going to
could
do
do
half and half in one pan so that you can see both of these.
okay. So this one, put all the chocolate on, because why not?
Are you looking for your green spatula?
I'm looking for my offset spatula. I don't know what happened to it. Oh, here it is. Okay. You see how the chocolate is melting right on there? You can make this with chocolate chips. You can make it with I made it with the Love chocolate that you can see right there. I love the Love chocolate. I love the Choco Love chocolate. I use it for everything. It's not in the baking aisle. It's in the candy bar aisle. And I think it is such good chocolate, and it is very, very well priced at the co-op, as really good chocolate goes.
So this is a good kind of cheat. Like if you don't really feel like melting chocolate on the stove, you can chop it.
Yeah, well, this recipe actually tells you to do it this way because it is so hot. This is why I don't want to touch it, that it just melts right down, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that. And while that sets a bit, the other recipe suggested melting chocolate first. So I'm going to use on this side. Oopsie, I think it said to do the peanut butter first, but I don't think it matters. So we're going to do peanut butter, and we're going to kind of swirl it together. So for the peanut butter side, and I'll do a little bit more peanut butter on top. And then I have some sea salt here. This is the gray sea salt from the co-op. And then I have chopped salted peanuts from the co-op on top. And then for the other side, it's a little bit wet, but since we're short on time, I'll show you. I just put the Malden flake sea salt on this one. I put sea salt on everything chocolate. Now you could even put it on the cookies if you wanted to. I wouldn't put it on the cake. And there you go. And now what you do is you let this set in the refrigerator or the freezer for about 30 minutes, and it will harden into a moment where you can break it into pieces.
Let's go back to the
So are there any questions before we?
Somebody said thank you so much for such delicious recipes.
They're great recipes. They're really great. So I hope everybody has a happy Passover, and I hope you make some of these recipes and think of me and my mom when you make the cake, me and my sister Jennifer when you make the cookies, and have a great holiday.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Alana.
Thank
And
you.
for anybody that's still in the Zoom chat, our next class is going to be a homemade hot sauce class on April 15th. It'll be in person at the co-op, but it'll also be hybrid. So you can also join us on Zoom like you did today. And that'll be at the same time, 7:30 p.m. at the co-op. And we'll have 4 guest chefs that are going to show us how to make hot sauce from scratch. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alana.
Thanks, everyone.